Kentucky just had one of the worst performances that I've ever seen from a basketball team, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better anytime soon.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on tonight's episode of the show, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's loss to Gonzaga in Nashville. I am actually currently in downtown Nashville. I just got the pleasure of watching the Wildcats play in Bridgestone Arena. And what I don't want to exaggerate here is the worst loss I have ever seen the Wildcats take. It was the most pitiful first half performance I've seen in my entire life. I want to say by any team ever, but of course you have to think about the numerous amount of mid-majors that the Wildcats have curb stomped over the last decades, forever. Their entire history of a program, you've got to think about the teams that they've beaten down that have maybe performed worse than the Cats have. But as far as Kentucky goes, that was about as pathetic as I've ever seen from Kentucky. And Mark Pope, I don't really know what to say about him other than that. Does he get a third year if this continues? We'll dive into all of it on today's episode. The show is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, you can visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Really appreciate you guys tuning into the show. I'm going to try and be quiet here because I am in a hotel in downtown Nashville. But I want to start by saying this, and I want to ask you guys because I'm trying to be genuine here. Does Mark Pope get a third season after seeing what we are currently seeing from this roster? I understand that there are players that have been injured. I understand that, sometimes it takes time for things to gel. The way that they played the first half, where they got down 19-2, it took them over 8 minutes to score a field goal, coming off of a loss at home against North Carolina where you should have won, and it took you 10 and a half minutes in the second half. You had a span of 10 and a half minutes in the second half of that game where you could not score a field goal. Genuinely, to everyone watching, does Mark Pope get a third year? Taking everything into context, we'll start with the money. $22 million is what has been reported that was spent on this roster. You and I can sit here and argue as to whether or not that number is real. You and I can sit here and argue as to whether or not it's even close to that. It doesn't matter. All we know is that Kentucky did spend money on this roster. They spent money on these players. They spent money on Dawe. They spent money on Jaland Lowe. They spent money on Denzel Aberdeen. They spent money on Colin Chandler, Jayden Quaintance, who still hasn't played, Mo Diabate from Alabama, who currently isn't playing. They spent money on this team. And I think it's a decent amount. At the very least, I think they spent a good chunk of change on this squad. And yet, they are performing like, and I hate to throw this team under the bus. They're performing like a Mississippi Valley State in terms of their shot selection, their shot quality, their pacing, their ability to hold on to the ball, their spacing on the offensive end of the floor. Defensively, it's not the end of the world. And against a team like Gonzaga, I expected Kentucky to get bodied on the defensive end of the floor. That's what Mark Few has done to Mark Pope basically the entire time those two coaches have played each other, and last year would have been the exact same had it not been for a miracle in the second half. There is nothing to take away positively from the way that Kentucky played on offense in this game, and you hired a coach that was known for his offense. Jordan Sperber, actually, we had him on the show whenever Pope got hired. He had a video go viral about Mark Pope's BYU offense, about how they play like a video game. We had Jordan on the show to break it down and how excited we were, and we saw that last season with the personnel Kentucky had. They needed to get more physical. They needed to get stronger. They needed to get better athletes that could handle the physicality of SEC play, and they completely flipped the switch here this season, and it has been terrible. It has been a terrible fit. These players don't play well with each other, at least not right now. The scheme has been horrible. The play calls have not been great. I think everyone is to blame, but again, Pope is the one that constructed this second-year roster. After catching lightning in a bottle a season ago, he has now found a way to not just disappoint, but to horrendously disappoint out of the gate. And any player or coach on that staff knows They are failing. They aren't just failing. They're failing as badly as you possibly could fail to start the season. I think it's unacceptable. And I'm not saying fire him tonight. I'm not saying fire him tomorrow morning. But I do question whether or not, if this continues, if poor offensive play continues and this team cannot figure anything out, if Pope finishes the season, if he deserves a third year, and I've already had some people tell me, well, he's a great ambassador for the program. We just bought out a football coach. There's no way they let him walk, or they make him walk instead of giving him a third year. We can't seem to close on recruits. We can't seem to play the game right on the floor. Interesting tweet I saw tonight. Kentucky, in almost a third of their games that they played under Mark Pope, they found themselves down by 12 or more in a third of those games. And I understand there's going to be people that watch this from the outside that say, oh, well, Kentucky is this, that, or the other, right? Your expectations for Kentucky are too high relative to what other programs have to deal with. Oh, it's whatever. They're just going through a slump. It's part of it. It's college basketball. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are going to be way more, I think, I don't want to say overreactive to this, but definitely in terms of, what you say to each other, what you're probably yelling at your TV screen right now, or your phone, or your computer, or whatever. But you guys know that this is unacceptable. I understand that, struggling to get to the NCAA tournament, not making it consistently to the second weekend, those were the things that we were frustrated about with Coach Cal, especially late in his career. But this is not a tournament team. Not only is this not a tournament team, this is not like a top third in the SEC type team right now with the way that they're playing. They aren't playing together. They can get nothing going on offense. It is the most bizarre thing to me. After all of the hype, after all of the excitement, after all of the fanfare, with look at all these players we brought in, we know the assignment. We're going to go get number 9. Mark Pope making jokes about how things add up to 9 in press conferences. And here we are now. We have lost to every single meaningful opponent we have played, and we haven't just lost to them. It's been embarrassing. Losing at home to North Carolina by 3 is one thing. That's humiliating, by the way, against a huge rival. But you were getting blown out by Louisville. You got blown out by Michigan State, and now you're getting blown out by Gonzaga. And it doesn't get better from here, folks. You have St. John's. You have Alabama at the beginning of SEC play. Indiana is coming up, and you get 2 more cupcake games sandwiched in between St. John's or sandwiched outside of St. John's and Indiana, and then things get real. Bama and Missouri to start SEC play. 2 teams that can shoot the cover off the ball. Kentucky has a very real chance of entering Game 3 of SEC play 8-7 after the expectations set for this program, just across the board historically, after the expectations set this season, not just by pundits, but by the staff and the team themselves. This doesn't just fall short. It is miles underneath what anyone could have fathomed for this squad. This is embarrassing. This is horrible. I think it's unacceptable. And again, I want to reiterate, I don't think you can fire him right now. But this does start to force you to ask some questions about what does the future of Kentucky basketball look like. By the way, I just want to be clear. I'm recording this game. Okay, the game has just went final. 94-59 is the final. I want to get a little bit here into the stats and how all of this played out for the Wildcats. Before we do that, though, I'll tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move really fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets. The action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, FanDuel is here for you. You can visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long with FanDuel. Game moves fast. All right, continuing along here on tonight's episode of Locked On Kentucky, Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Normally, I would be a lot more animated than this after a loss such as this, but unfortunately, We are within the confines of a hotel in downtown Nashville, which I've only been to downtown Nashville once before in my life. And I got to say, looks really pretty at night. I do enjoy it. Although I will say the drive here was about as gray and as bleak as it could have possibly been. Maybe that was a bad omen for what was to come tonight. 94-59 is the final score. Game has just finally gone final. Yes, I did leave this game at halftime. There was no sense in sitting there waiting for this bludgeoning to end. Shout out to Andy Patton. Shout out to the Zags. That's a good team. That's a really good team. Unfortunately for Kentucky, the expectations of this program, the standard of this program, do not meet the final result that you had tonight. So let's look at some of the stats here. Just grit your teeth and walk through this with me. Gonzaga ends up shooting 57% from in this game. Graham Ike had 28 at one point early in the second half. He had 24 points, so I guess he kind of cooled off late. The Zags shot 9 of 18 from beyond the arc, and it was kind of everybody getting involved. Most notably, though, Adam Miller, former Illinois and I believe LSU player, if I'm not mistaken, which is actually really interesting. I don't think he was brought up on our preview episode at all. And then Kentucky on the other end. 16 of 60 is what Kentucky shot in this game. 16 of 60. 16 of 60 in this game. That's 26.7%. 26.7%. They shot 34 threes. They made 7 of them. 20.6%. They did end up going 20 of 26 from the charity stripe, with Dawe doing a large portion of the work there. 76.9% there. They were out-rebounded by 12. Most notably on the defensive glass, 30-17. They had 12 assists to Gonzaga's 24, so they were doubled up there. They did somehow have one more steal, and there was only one block in this game. Zags had it. 11 turnovers for Kentucky. I think most of those coming in the first half. Gonzaga only 10 points, I should say, off of those turnovers. Poor shooting. Awful rim protection. Malachi Marino did not have a good game. Brandon Garrison didn't have a good game. Kentucky just did not have the guys down low up Gonzaga's physicality. 59 points after you could not buy a bucket at home. Second half against UNC. Otega Oweh finishes with 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. A couple of steals. Good for him. And use his 10-point per game plus streak. Awesome. Aberdeen shot 3 of 12. He's being forced into off the dribble shots, which were super inefficient for him at Florida. We wanted him to be more of a spot up player this year. Has obviously not been able to do that because of how stagnant the offense has been. He's been forced to try and create. That has not worked. Jaland Lowe played like trash in the 14 minutes that he was out there. 1 point, 1 assist, 1 rebound, 1 turnover. 0 of 5 from the floor, by the way. Jasper had a couple of nice moments in the second half. 8 points, 2 of 7 shooting. Trent Noah, 5 points, 4 rebounds. Yelovich, 4 boards, no points, no assist. 0 of 6 from 3. Just chucking out there. Just getting cardio in. Cam Williams, 0 of 3 from the floor. Malachi Marino, 2 of 6. Chandler, 3 of 8. On top of this, I've got so much congestion, I think I could blow the door off of this hotel room if I wanted to blow my at it right now. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I said this after the North Carolina game. I'll reiterate it here. The team is bad. The team is beyond underwhelming right now. They're not even close to meeting any sort of expectations for even an average SEC. And I don't know where the fix comes in. I don't know. I have no idea. Let's wrap this up here in just a moment. Before I do it, though, I'll tell you guys about our friends over at Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not something to wrap. It's a way to share memories. Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, Memories are already there. There's no apps to figure it out or no setup headaches. Just instant smiles. My parents actually got one of these about a year ago. I think it is absolutely adorable. Every single time I go over to the house, I get to see so many different memories from my childhood, my siblings' childhoods, and then honestly, actually, some memories that my mom and dad shared before we even came into their life. It's a really, really cool gift. I absolutely love it. I would encourage you guys to go check it out. And for a limited time, you can save on this perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, wrapping up tonight's episode of the show. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Appreciate you guys. For all of you who are going to be watching this whenever this goes up. Hopefully the internet here in the hotel is going to allow me to get this up in an appropriate time here as we wind down. 94-59 is the final score. The Wildcats with and I embellish a little bit on the show, I would say. I have for the 5 seasons now that I'm doing this at times. This is the worst game I've seen. It was the worst first half I've seen. It's the worst first half I've seen in my life from Kentucky. People were saying it on Twitter. I can reiterate some of the things that they were saying here or about how we got UCLA'd. You guys remember that, like 41-9 or something like that? Something ridiculous. 24-2 or something ridiculous out the gate. An insane halftime or first half from the Wildcats. I believe it was like 2015. What happened to Kentucky? You were down 19-2, and the 2 points you had came from free throws on 2 separate possessions. So you went 1-1 on 2 different free throw two different trips to the charity stripe where you shot a collective 4 free throws. You go 2 of 4, and those are your 2 first freaking points of the game. Again, I don't think you can fire him now. And there's probably going to be some of you in the comments that say, "Oh, you can't! What a ridiculous overreaction! You can't fire him." This is. I need you to tell me. Has Kentucky ever been worse than what you just laid eyes on? Because I've never seen it. And I don't have to be alive for the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s to be able to go back and watch footage from those games, even the bad ones. And I have, and tell you, this is the worst I have ever seen it. Now, you may be able to tell me different, and you may be able to break out some wisdom on me that I just don't have. But I can tell you, I've watched quite a bit of Kentucky basketball. I'm sure you have as well. This is beyond pathetic. Beyond pathetic. And there's no change coming. Jayden Quaintance doesn't fix this. Jayden Quaintance does not fix a 94-59 game. I understand. Graham Ike went off, and Jayden Quaintance would have helped against Ike for sure. But it wouldn't have changed anything. And you know, with how Mark Pope loves to run his little rotations, oh, a guy has played 2.5 minutes, let's get him out. He's a little sore, he's a little tired, let's get him out. Let's get another fresh body in there instead of having some continuity, some momentum. You know that Jayden Quaintance would have played like 12 minutes tonight. Oh, we're just bringing him back. So, you know, and at this point, if you're JQ, I mean, I argued with you guys on the live stream last time against North Carolina. I'm like, no, he will play. Like there's got to be something for it. If you're JQ, do you just say this team sucks? Like, why would I go out there and risk my draft stock when I have so much on tape right now? All I could do is hurt myself. Physically and in terms of my draft stock, why would I play? And if you're any Kentucky player on this team, by the way, and you've already been paid, which I'm sure a lot of them have, what's in it for you? What's in it for you? You've made your bag. You know, you're like, is the competitive spirit still there? Are you still trying to fight? I mean, I would love to see it, but if you're a Wildcat right now, what are you thinking? If you're a recruit, right? If you're Tyron Stokes, if you're Christian Collins, what are you thinking? if the university can't even get NIL deals aligned with you, and they have to hassle with JMI to get anything maybe done, what are you thinking right now? Do you want to come play for this? Do you want to come be coached by this? Because it is about as pathetic as I have ever seen it. I'm going to dive into it in more in depth, probably on Sunday. I don't know if I can wait until Monday. There was a really good article written that I reposted at several different places. I believe it was by Will Warren, if I'm not mistaken, by Basket Under Review. And it broke down in phenomenal detail what Kentucky's problems are. And I guess that'll be my tease heading into. I would encourage you guys, go find the article, go read it. You can find it on my Twitter. Actually, I've reposted it. Go read that article. That's your homework. We'll come back probably on Sunday and discuss why this team sucks. Why Mark Pope has done a horrendous job so far, it seems, with the personnel that he has added. And I want to be clear, because I do want to give Pope a little bit of leeway here. Everyone thought, every major pundit, every analyst thought this team is going to be good. At the very least, they're going to be a good team. A lot of people thought that they were going to be really good, and a good amount of people thought that they were going to be national championship contenders. They were a preseason top 5 team on Ken Palm. They were a preseason top 10 team, if I'm not mistaken. According to the AP poll, people had high expectations. So we're close. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. Follow me on Twitter at Lance_, and you can follow the show over at Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I'll see you all later for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Great rest of your evening. Find something positive, kind of envelop your world.